Welcome back to Fast Politics. Amanda Litman,
Thanks, Molly.
president of Run for Something. Let's talk. What is going on?
It's been a good year for young people running for local office all across the country, which we love to see it. We had 166 wins this year, like more than half of our candidates. And on election night in November, more than two-thirds of our candidates, including 43 red to blue flips all across the country. Plus, we had, at this point, we're over 80,000 people who've raised their hands to say they want to run for office in the last 12 months. That's more than we had in the entirety of Trump's first term. So things are good, which is a really weird feeling in 2025.
So, why are more people running for office now than they were during Trump 1.0?
Well, yeah, part of it is Run for Something's been around a little longer, so people know if they want to run, we are here to help them. But I actually think one of the things that we've heard this year that we didn't hear during Trump 1.0 is people quite explicitly saying, I am done waiting my turn. I am not asking for permission. I am sick of the status quo. I'm sick of the people in charge. I'm not getting in the back of the line. I'm ready to run, and I'm not going to let anyone stop me. The number one issue, as it has been for a while now, has been affordable housing, childcare, transportation. But that frustration with the status quo is so loud that in a way that it wasn't the first time around.
I want to talk about that because
Yeah.
the polling we see shows voters mad at Trump, very
Mm-hmm.
mad at Trump. But then, unlike 2016, they're not happy with Schumer. They're not
Mm-hmm.
happy with Hakeem. They're mad at Democrats writ large. Is that what you got people coming and saying to you?
Absolutely. They're just furious. They're like, why should I settle for these leaders? They're not fighting. They're not standing up for my community. They haven't made things better. I think that visceral frustration with the status quo of both parties, and I'm not one to be like both sides are bad, but that
Right.
frustration with people on in both parties is so deep seated that it is pushing people to make the kinds of changes in their life and in their activism that we just didn't see back in 2017 to 2020, in part because at that point, Democrats were a little better at fighting. This time around, the people at the top aren't, but the people who are going to be the leaders are really ready to get in.
So, do you think that a Democrat, like when people say it's a Democratic Tea Party, do you think that's true, correct?
I do. And I think you have to keep in mind that most incumbents win. Just generally,
Right.
most incumbents win. They have a 95% reelection rate. It is really hard to take out an incumbent in a primary. The fact that there are so many competitive primary challenges, the fact that there's a ton of open races, because thank God many of these older leaders, not enough, but many of them are retiring and making it their last term, that many of them are being outraised by their
Right.
challengers. Even if the incumbents hold on to power, which I don't think in all of these is a sure thing, they are going to be forced to campaign in 2026 in a way they haven't in years past. And that is a good thing. It's going to be a different Democratic Party at the end of 2026 than it is in the beginning. And I am cautiously optimistic it'll be for the better.
So, what does that mean? Like, are you seeing people primarying? So, at first, let's talk about red to. I want you to talk about the red to blue flips. Give me a few examples of red to blue flips that you had.
So we had folks like Will Rivera in the Oneonta County Legislature in New York, first generation college grad, cancer survivor, local activist, was really running on affordable housing, was part of a wave of young leaders who flipped seats across the state of New York. There was more than 50 red to blue flips across the state of New York. Most of the attention went to Zoran, but Republicans had a terrible night here in the Empire State. Even then, there was only one Republican blue to red flip.
Oh,
Democrats
okay,
had over 50. So
good.
we had a good week. We had a good night.
Even in Suffolk
Um,
County, because that
yeah.
was the one that I heard there was some kind of
Yeah,
something
but generally
happening.
speaking, you didn't want to be a New York Republican.
Okay, good. Well, there you go.
My personal favorite is this guy Andrew Harbaugh, who's a current journalist, sports journalist, and a former Republican who left the party after January 6th. He's a parent of two young kids, one of whom has special needs, and the cuts to the Department of Education were going to directly affect his kid's education and the services his kid was getting through school. The Medicaid cuts were also going to directly affect his kids. So he ran for borough common council, which is like a county government office or a local government office, and flipped the seat red to blue in a county that Trump won 70-30. Huge.
Yeah.
Exhausted.
So one of the things Trump said was that he said affordability is a hoax.
Mm.
What I think he meant, again, we never want to be Trump splainers, but what it seems like he meant were that Democrats are using affordability, but they don't really care about it. Whatever, I don't think that's true. But what are the things that Democrats are running on?
I would say that especially the red to blue flips, we went through and looked at all of our 43 winners on election night in 2025 in November. And what we found are a couple of things. One, they are absolutely running on affordability and specifically housing. They are talking about all the different levers they could pull to build more housing, make it easier for people to buy a home, make it easier for renters, like really focused on when we talk about cost of living, the actual biggest category for most people in their expenses is where they live. So housing is number one. Number two, they were talking about transparency in a way that actually really surprised us. 90% of our red to blue flips specifically named transparency and trust in government, whether it was bringing
Mm.
budgeting forward or, community modernization, some kind of way to make people feel good about government again. A lot of them talked about, if not exactly, better sidewalks, then the kinds of like very local lived experience things that make living somewhere either good or bad. They were really reflecting the kinds of things that their voters cared about. Like you could see it in their ads, their videos, their websites. It was obvious that their campaigns were not their visions. It was that they were hearing from voters and how they were going to solve their problems. They were across the ideological spectrum in terms of Democrats or the left. Like they weren't all, I just said
Right.
Republican. They weren't all like socialist candidates. Most of these red to blue flips are not. What they are is deeply rooted in community, and they love the places they're running. And that feels like such an obvious thing to say, but we can both name candidates where they are running somewhere they don't actually like.
Or don't actually live.
Totally, 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 totally.
There was this congressional seat that recently Republicans were worried they were going to lose it. It was at R plus 22, and the Tennessee gerrymandered seat. They won it, but they only won it by 8 points. The candidate there was very lefty, but she was an activist known
Mhm.
in the area, right?
Yeah, Afton Baina run for something alone. We'd worked with her in her state house race a couple of years ago, and it's funny, yeah, she had a history of talking about some more lefty type stuff in her past, but she'd also been a fierce fighter for grocery taxes and like for getting rid of the sales tax on groceries in Tennessee, making food more affordable for folks. She was running on affordability, and she was super compelling, super authentic, really talked about what she believed and how it reflected the voters of her community. Do I think a more there was this discourse of like, a more moderate candidate could have made it more competitive. Shut the fuck up. She won the primary. She won the
Yeah,
primary. She won the
right.
primary, and if you think that a more moderate candidate should have won, whoever the you is in this discourse, you should have engaged in the primary. She
So
won the
let's talk.
primary, and she campaigned really hard, and she brought out voters who may not have otherwise been excited about this election.
Let's talk about winning the primary because I think that the more competitive a primary is, the better. And I think a lot about Biden, that a primary would have hurt him, that he should have just, and especially with Harris, that they should just be allowed to keep going and that. But do you think a primary process actually does get a candidate in a better spot?
100%. Primaries make candidates better because running for office is like anything else in which the more practice you get at it, the better you get at it. It gives you a chance to, you know, get more reps in, giving your stump speech and talking to more voters and engaging volunteers. Literally gives you more time to raise money and build data infrastructure and hire staff. It forces you to talk to voters more, which I think is a good thing because you get to really hear what they care about. I'm not saying that if you can win the primary, then you can win the general. Obviously, that is not always true. Like candidates of either party on the extreme ends win primaries and that are very unelectable in the general. But if you can't win the primary, you definitely can't win the general. That's just how this goes. You got to be able to excite your base, and your base is the Democratic primary voter.
So now we look to the midterms,
Mhm.
and Run for Something does do midterms. There's a lot of state seats coming up. So talk us through what are the races you are watching, organized
Yeah, so
with,
Run for
looking,
Something, as I said, we've
recruiting.
had like almost more than 80,000 people sign up in the last year. So we're making sure that as many of those folks as possible get plugged into races wherever they are, because the battlefields could be super expansive in 2026. If we're going to have a blue wave, which I suspect based on every available data point we will, we should be fighting to win in R plus 10, R plus 20 communities. And we're thinking ahead to 2030 and 2032. We laid out earlier this year our battle up plan of a vision to expand the battleground map that includes a dozen states where we think over the next 6 years, we need to be doing this kind of work to build local power so that eventually they could be battlegrounds. I'm not saying they all will be, but some of them, if we don't do this work, they never will be. So that includes places like, Idaho, Utah, Nebraska, Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Ohio, and Iowa. I think I got them all. Places where it's going to be really important that we have many paths to victory post redistricting in 2030. The final thing that we're also keeping an eye on in 2026 is that so many of our alumni are running for higher office. So, like, while we're not working with those campaigns directly, we are aggressively rooting for them. We have 7 Run for Something alum running for Senate, including 2 running in Texas. James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett are both Run for Something alum who've come through our
Oh,
pipeline in years past. 6 running for governor, and a couple dozen at this point running for U.S. House or statewide offices like Secretary of State or AG or Treasurer. And I'm just so excited because that is more new energy than the Democratic Party could ever have imagined. And I'm really proud that we built that bench that can now rise.
let's talk about if you're listening to this and you're
Mhm.
excited, what's the call to action here?
2 things. You should look into running for office. It's probably not too late wherever you are. A couple of places filing deadlines have passed, but you should look it up. You can go to runforwhat.net, enter your address, see where you might be able to run, send it to a friend who should run. Second thing you can do is give money, especially a small, like recurring donation, make it monthly, runforsomething.net/donate. Every dollar goes towards building the largest candidate pipeline in politics and then helping those folks run and win. And we really need it. So thank you.
Is someone who sees a lot of candidates, sees a lot of Democrats, has real eyes on the ground. What do you think are the biggest issues that Democrats need? Like that most opportunities, that Democrats should be when they're looking at this cycle.
I think one of our challenges for 2026 is that there's going to be a lot of attention paid to congressional candidates writ large, which there should be. We need to flip the House. We should try and flip the Senate. But congressional candidates can't really talk about the issues in a way that we can genuinely believe they'll get things done. Like, they're
Right.
not going to be able to govern. If you're in the House in 2027, and even if Democrats have the majority, you'll be able to do accountability, you'll be able to do oversight, we'll be able to do investigations, and that's great. We got to do that shit. You're not really going to be able to write any policy about housing or reproductive health care or anything else that
Because
Trump
you
is
don't
going to
have the
be a partner
president
on. Like, you
say.
don't have the
Yeah.
presidency. So, one of the tensions I think that we have to hold is that the attention will be on the House. We got to make sure the people running for the local offices, the state legislatures, the mayors, the city council members, the school board candidates who can talk about very specific things they are doing have as big of a megaphone as possible. Those gotta be the leaders we empower, and those are gotta be the folks that voters who are otherwise unengaged are hearing from the most, because those are the people that they can genuinely believe when they say, "I'm gonna do something to make your life cheaper."
So affordability has clearly been a very good issue for Dems. What are the other issues that you think Dems should be running on as someone who has a lot of view into state races?
I think housing, as I talked about earlier, is probably the biggest one, because it's the thing that people feel the most acutely. It's also in particular for young people. It's not just about like, can I afford to live where I want to live? It's can I have the kind of American dream that felt available to my parents, my grandparents, and does not feel available to me. The idea for a 20 or 30 something right now for most of us, like buying a
Right.
home feels unrealistic. Never. And I think that instability and that sense that what is it all for is really, really challenging for young people. I think that was Mamdani's
Yeah.
really like superpower.
Yeah.
It wasn't the afford to live or the like a city we can afford. It was the afford to dream component of his campaign, which is it allows you to be ambitious for other things. I also think childcare, we're seeing this in lots and lots of our campaigns. There was just a big story in New York Magazine earlier this month about how, like, here in New York, the childcare costs went up twice as high as inflation or outpaced inflation by double. Same is true in a lot of places across the country. And it is really affecting 20 and 30 somethings' ability to have the families they want, plan the families they want, live where they want to live, have the jobs they want. Yeah, it's connected to affordability, but it's not about like the economy and jobs. It's about how does it feel to live where you live and to have the kind of family and life that you want. The other piece, and I know this is something that some candidates are starting to talk about, it really bubbles up on the local level, is AI. And we're talking about data centers, they're talking about electricity, they're talking about jobs, they're talking about utility rates. They're also thinking really carefully about, okay, I use ChatGPT for work. Doesn't seem that bad, but I don't want it to be unregulated. I
Right.
want it to have guardrails. I don't trust the people who are, designing these things to have my best interest. I want people in leadership who understand these tools and can legislate on them. And I actually do think that's one thing where congressional candidates can really lean in and even more
Right.
so than local, which is, okay, what are you gonna do to make sure the robots don't take all our jobs?
And also, they make energy more expensive, right? These data
Mhm.
farms make energy more expensive.
They do, and there's been a lot of really interesting local campaigns against some of these data centers because,
Yeah,
it's construction jobs for a short period of time and then ultimately, 5 or 6 people employed, security, janitorial staff, that's it. It's not like a job creation factory, and if anything, it's a job destruction institution. So, how can
right.
you be sure, especially for young people who feel really unsure of how AI is affecting their ability to get hired? You gotta speak to it.
So interesting. Amanda Litman, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Always. Thanks for having me, Molly. Happy holidays.